Hi, everyone. Hope you all are good. We are here for again. You can find all the lessons out there. If the students get on, you have to log in there using your email address and password as provided by the administrator. Then you have to select math from the subject tab. Scroll down to page one math and then click on the all lessons. There you can find the list of the chapters. We're going to start with the chapter measurement. The lessons we're going to cover today are thermometer, read a thermometer, compare objects length and height by using objects using an inch ruler. So please make sure you have your notebook and pencil so that you can note down the important examples and definitions as well. Here are my grade one. Let's just start with the lesson that is read a thermometer. So why we use thermometer? The first thing we need to learn is why we use thermometer. Any idea? Basically, thermometer is a tool, right? And it's used to measure the temperature of the solids, liquids, or gases. Got it? So thermometer is used to measure the temperature. So we are going to learn how do we use thermometer to measure the temperature, right? Just look at the, basically the thermometer looks like this, right? You need to read the thermometer. You can see here you have written F. So usually it has two units. Thermometer is measured in two units, the Fahrenheit and the Celsius. F stands for Fahrenheit and C stands for Celsius. So how do we read the thermometer? We need to find the line where the color is changing from red to white, right? Just look at this line and then match it to the number. This is the line where the color is changing from red to white. So that is 90 degrees. So the temperature is 90 degrees F Fahrenheit it is. Got it? So let's just start with the test questions. What is the temperature? Right? So find the line where the color is changing from red to white, match it to the number, and you can see the temperature. Just match it to the line. That is 0 degrees Celsius. Option number two is the correct option. That is 0 degree Celsius. Okay, so the temperature on this thermometer is 0 degrees Celsius. Also, you guys noticed when you have fever, you are sick, you go to the doctor, right? He checks your body temperature using the thermometer, right? Sometimes he keeps the thermometer in your mouth, right below your tongue, and sometimes Sometimes he keeps the thermometer right below your tongue inside your mouth, and sometimes he keeps the thermometer inside your armpit, right? So that's how you measure the body temperature. So what is the temperature? So thermometer is also used to measure the body temperature, right? So the color changing from red to white is 0 degrees Celsius. So the temperature is 0 degree, sorry, not Celsius. We have F here, that is 0 degree F. Option number two is the correct option, that is 0 degree F. What is the temperature, which is the correct option? That is 70 degree F. Option number three is the correct option, that is 70 degree F. What is the temperature? That is 10 degrees Celsius. Option number one is the correct option. 10 degrees Celsius it is. What is the temperature? The temperature is 30 degree. F, the correct option is 30 degree. No one is answering the questions why. They aren't, they are not hard. Why? That is 30 degree F. Option number. What is the temperature? That is 0 degree F. The correct option is 0. What is the temperature? That is 40 degrees Celsius. The correct option is 40. The temperature is 60 degree F. Okay, you can complete the lesson by yourself later today. Let me just move to next lesson. The next lesson is compare objects' length and height. Which cactus is the shortest? Option number one is the correct option. That is the shortest one. You need to measure the heights of the cactus. So option number one is the correct option. Let's just start with the test questions. Which one is the shortest? Option number one is the correct option. That is the shortest. You need to measure the height of the palm. So the first one is the shortest than the other one. So option number one is the correct option. Which table is the longest? Option number one is the correct option. That is the longest length. Option number one is the correct option. Which piece of wood is the longest? Option number one is the correct option. That is the longest. Option number one is the correct option. Which cactus is the shortest? Option number one is the correct option. That is the shortest. Option number one is the correct option. Which sword is the longest? Option number one is the correct option. That is the longest one. You need to find the length of the longest. Which sandwich is the shortest? So which is the correct option? Option number one is the correct option. That is the shortest sandwich. Option number one is the correct option. Which pen is the shortest? Which is the correct option? Very good. Again, that is option number one. So option number one is the shortest. Which screwdriver is shortest? Which is the correct option? Option number one is the correct option. That is the shortest screwdriver. Option number one is the correct option. Which caterpillar is the longest? Option number two is the correct option. That is the longest one. So yes, that is again option number one. Sorry. Which fire truck is the longest? Which is the correct option? Option number one is the correct option. That is the longest one. Option number one is the correct option. Okay, you can complete the lesson by yourself later today. I think these are the easiest one, isn't it? So let me just move into the next lesson. Which filling cabinet is the tallest? Option number one is the option number. Let's just move into the next lesson. The next lesson is measure using objects. So you can measure the things using other objects. Like for example, you have to measure the length of the line. You can keep dice, one dice, another, something from the line to the end of the line so that you can measure the length of the line. So the line is about how many dice long. So you have to place the left end of one die at the left end of the line, then place more dice with no overlaps to the end of the line. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The line is about 6 dice long. The correct option is 6. So you just have to keep the dices with one dice with another one with no spaces, no overlap until the end, and then you can measure the length of the line. Use paper clips to measure the line. And the line is about how many paper clips long. You just have to keep the paper clips, one paper clip with another, right? So I'm just guessing. I think the line is about 3 paper clips long. The correct option is 3. Option number 2 is the correct option. That is 3. Use paper clips. Okay, that is 2 paper clips long, not 3. Option number 1 is the correct option. That is 2 paper clips long. Option number 1 is the correct option. Use the dice to measure the moon. That is just one dice long. The correct option is 1. Use the dice to measure the moon. So, what do you think? That is 10 dice long. The correct option is 10 dice long. Option number 2 is 3 is the correct option. Okay, that is just 6 dice long. The correct option is 6. Option number 2 is the correct option. Use dice to measure the line. That is one dice one. Option number one is the correct option. Use the paper clips to measure the line. So I think that would be five paper clips long. The correct option is five. Okay, that is just three dice one. The correct option is three. That is three paper clips long. Okay, so you can complete the lesson in your room. Let me just move to next lesson. Either using hand page ruler. Move the ruler to measure the length of the line to the nearest inches. Now we're going to use the ruler to measure the length of the line, right? That is actually when we have to measure the line or the length, we use the ruler, right? Or the measuring tape, measuring tape and ruler. They are the same. The ruler is used to measure the small lengths, but the measuring tapes are used to measure the long lengths, right? So you just have to line up the left end of the line with a zero mark on the ruler. So the line is just 1 inch long. Inch is the unit to measure the length. We have different units to measure the length, but here we are. The ruler measures usually the inches. Let's just start with the test questions. Move the ruler to measure the length of the line to the nearest inches. So you have to line up the zero with the left end of the line, and then that would be 3 inches long. The correct option is 3 inches long option. And by the way, that is 3 inches long option. And by please be there. Sure. Move the ruler to measure the length of the line. So when you line up the zero with the left end of the line, that is again, I think 3 inches long. The correct option number one, that is 3 inches long. Option number one is the correct option. Move the ruler to measure the length of the line to the nearest inches. The length is about the length of the line is 1 inch long. Option number three is the correct option. That is 1 inch long. Move the ruler to measure the length of the line to the nearest inches. That is 2 inches long. The correct option is two. Option number the last one is the correct option. Use the ruler to measure the length of the new inch, which is the correct option. The correct option is 3 inches long. Option number one is the correct option. Move the ruler to measure the length of the new inch, which is the correct option. That is 1 inch long. The correct option is one. Option number three is the correct option. Move the ruler to measure the length of the line to the nearest inches, so which is the correct option. That is 2 inches long option number three is the correct option. That is 1 inch long option number three is the correct option. Okay, we are done with the lesson. So if you have any question with the lesson, you can please ask. So we were working on paper one chapter we were working on is measurement the lessons we have covered today are meter thermometer compare objects with length and height, measure using objects, measure using an inch ruler. So please make sure before the next session you can complete all the practice questions for the lessons we just did. That is your homework content next session. So if you need more help with any of the lessons, you can simply click on the live chat button. Tutors are available there to help you, or either you can write down the question in the chat box. I'm here to answer all your questions and confusion if you have any. So you can please write down the question in the chat box. I'm here to answer all your questions and confusion if you have any. Any questions? No questions? Okay, then that's all for today. See you in the next session. Bye, everyone.